News Talk time 10:06. Time now for the Saturday special right here on AM 1080 KSCO.
Josh Stevens.
MZ, Michael Zwerling.
Dave Michaels is here too. Dave, you know, life goes by too fast. You're nodding your head, right, Dave Michaels?
Yes, I agree with you, MZ. And I don't think my mic is on, but if it is...
No, it is.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. Life goes by too fast.
Here, okay. Well, Jeff will need some help here with getting his mic. But here, and I sound like I'm eating something. A medication is dissolving in my mouth.
Okay.
So that's why that's why I'm tripping all over, when I talk.
Right, I was going to say,
the last thing in the world someone should do on the radio is what I'm doing.
Getting medicated. Mm-hmm. The last thing someone on radio should be doing is chewing and talking at the same time. And
I'm very upset because I didn't even think about a personal question for Josh Stevens.
Ah, yes.
Do you have one that I could borrow?
Sure. Josh Stevens.
All right, what you got, Dave Michaels?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel, how fed up are you with the shelter-in-place order?
I'd say about like a 9.5, just because, I've been needing my outdoor time. Like, even though I love being all cooped up, it's like now that I'm forced to, it's like too much of a good thing,
Right. Yeah. Well, luckily I think that the rules are going to start loosening up soon, so that is definitely
Why do you say that, Dave Michaels? We have a governor who's flexing his muscles more and more to let us know who the boss is.
Yes.
Why do you say the opposite of the way he's behaving?
Because the people are also flexing their muscle more and more to show him who's really boss. That's what I think is great. When they're showing up to the Capitol like that, I think it's fantastic. I also think it's fantastic. Man, we are on a learning curve. Everything that we're going through right now, we are learning on the fly. The governor needs to learn where his limits are. We need to learn when to push back. This is all a good thing. And I think luckily for us, this whole virus thing is going to be seen to be overblown, and this will all be just a bunch of overreaction, which is bad for the economy, but good for us as a whole, because we're going to learn a lot of things as a society, as humans. This is a moment when we are going to do some serious learning. So this is a that's the silver lining in the cloud that I see. It's not necessarily.
I love what you say, Dave Michaels. Right. Another silver lining that I and my friend have been talking about is that this will spur de-globalization.
What does that mean?
I hadn't thought about that.
Instead of globalization, which has been a horrible scourge on our country, in my opinion, this globalization, where there are no borders, Okay, I think we need to have borders, and I think we need to have borders and not be called racist because we need to have borders. It's ridiculous.
You got to have our resources saved accordingly, too, because we can only have so much. And domestically, we seem to be failing our own people in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As far as globalization, I don't know that you can stop that. What we need is more accountability, and calling the Chinese for accountability.
Well,
that would be, I would settle for that. Globalization, I mean, it's going to happen, MZ. We're going to become a global economy. We already are.
But it's... Up until now, Dave, don't you say that, don't you believe that this has become too globalized, where we become, because of the low cost of our desire to have the cheapest products, the least expensive products, we've allowed ourselves to become dependent to our destruction.
That's what Josh was saying, yes, and yes. I agree with that.
Okay?
Yes, but this is going to be a global economy.
I'm not saying no global economy, but I'm saying we need to be responsible for our own stuff, our own drug manufacturing, our own energy independence,
taking care of our own people.
Which we were talking about back in the 1970s when the first gas lines appeared. You were 2 years old then, so you probably don't remember.
Did not exist.
Taking care of our own people would be another one I would add to that list, MZ.
Yeah,
we shouldn't have all these homeless people when we're taking care of people who don't even belong here.
So yes, and globalization is something that has been spoken of a lot on KSCO. I don't know how much attention you've paid for it, but I'm fascinated by the fact that people who either thought globalization was great and necessary and the right direction are as a result of this pandemic thing, are taking another look, and they're starting to question parts of it, okay?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to hear what you guys are going to be talking about today. I think that there's two scenarios that I've been thinking about more and more. And one is that it was a virus that just evolved and it got loose from China, and you know, that's just the way it is. They tried to keep things quiet, they didn't, and then they screwed us all. Or it could have been something that they're working on, and just let it go and wreak havoc on the economy of the world. I don't know if that would put them in a better position, but it would certainly be nice to have something like that. It has shut down the economy like nothing I could have ever imagined.
No, the government has shut down. Our government has shut down this economy, and that's what Jeff and I are going to be talking about.
That's a good point. That's a good point, MZ. Okay, good. So that's a good place for me to head out to the Dave Cave, MZ. I'm going to be there.
What you got? You got a bunch of stuff.
I got a bunch of stuff right here. So these are my favorite products, our best-selling products out at the Dave Cave. Tangy Tangerine, this is your mineral complex. OsteoFX is your bone strengthening formula. Glucogel is your cartilage and joint support formula. We cannot say that it helps rebuild cartilage, but this stuff is fantastic. People rave about this stuff all the time. Glucogel, OsteoFX, Tangy Tangerine. You want to ask for that trio. And if you want your dogs to feel just as good as you do, your dog, cat, bat, rat, yak.
I would hope my dog feels better than I do all the time. Well, if I ever get one.
All right. All right, MZ. So I'm out at the Dave Cave every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Remember, even when there's not a sale, MZ, we've got the best prices in town. The Dave Cave, 2300 Portola Drive, every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Get something for yourself, something for your pets, maybe even something for your garden. It's not too late to start thinking about bloomin' minerals. Mix it into your soil becomes healthier, your product and your harvest becomes healthier. What more do you want?
Unbelievable. Yeah, and we have a lot of bloomin' minerals to make people squeal.
And also, 218-5726. You've heard the commercial a million times. That's 218-KSCO to schedule pickup or delivery.
Yeah, and you've been taking, what, Thursdays and Fridays to go far away.
Right, Thursdays in Salinas. Fridays in Monterey. That's the way it's been shaken out, and it works out for me.
And
Thursdays in
you
Salinas.
take the time off of Flight 1080 those days?
No, I just.
How do you do that? Oh, from the cell?
I just do it. I prepare early in the morning before I take off, and then I try to get home for a couple hours to try to prepare for the show. It's a hustle, but yeah. So Thursdays in Salinas, Fridays in Monterey. Okay.
Thank you, Dave Michaels and his orchestra. Oh my God, we already have 3 callers. But let's start the show officially. I mean, we have to do that. We just have to.
May I ask you a personal
question? No, not
three?
there. That you got to do it the right way. See what's hour 1 here.
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KSCO Radio.
Now, because I like to sing so much, why don't I just sing along? Get up and go, it's today, you know, on KS. But I should at least do it in time with the music.
Make your own jingle.
Really?
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Can you help me? I'm not a musician. I'm just a budding singer.
We'll make something happen.
All right, good. Here we go. So anyhow, stay with us here.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
May I ask you a personal question, or 2 or 3? Are you a cowering, quivering milquetoast who kowtows to every command or order you hear from your government, even if that government has no right to order you to close your business indefinitely, not to go to work, and basically lose your money and assets? What has to happen before you challenge your government? How far is too far to be pushed by government officials? Well, in order to answer these highly personal questions, it is necessary to understand constitutional law, so you know what your rights are and what they are not. Increasingly brave or stupid people are telling overzealous unelected and elected government officials to go to hell and refusing to be victimized by them more than by the COVID-19 virus itself. Jeff Bosshard is an attorney who is very well versed in constitutional law and will be our guest on the next KSCO special this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on Know Where You Stand Before You Rebel Radio, FM 104.1 and AM 1080 KSCO. Okay, now we're with the crossfire. Yeah, that music gets you all keyed up. That's what we want to do. We want to get you all keyed up. Okay, I think it's being carried too far. And my understanding is the beaches have been closed in Huntington Beach, Southern California, wherever that was, and Santa Cruz County. Now, not totally closed, because Jaunty and I went on a walk yesterday, a glorious walk along the coastline. And there were a couple cops at Pleasure Point. And we stopped and asked the cops. They were sheriff's department people, and very nice people. And we said, "What is the deal? We keep hearing conflicting things about the beaches. There are plenty of people going in and out of the surf, and they said, well, starting tomorrow, which is now today, the beaches will be closed between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. to people who just want to be on the beach." Like people go to the beach. That doesn't mean that people who want to do water sports, can't dash across the beach real fast, and in order to not be cited. They're going to allow you to do your water sports even between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. today. I hope I got that right. If Jaunty is listening, he was with me yesterday. Is that your understanding, Josh Stevens?
That's about right. Yeah, water sports allowed. You can't be on the beach, however, period. You can't even bring a beach towel. You can't bring coolers, umbrellas, stuff like that. Anything that could facilitate recreating, you can't do that whatsoever.
Okay. Is this legal for the government to tell us that, not besides what I talked about in the promo, Jeff Bosshard, who is here, by the way, welcome back to KSCO. It's been a while. How are you, Jeff?
Well, I'm just fine, of course, and so are you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's so nice to have you without a mask here. When I came in, you had a mask and you talked. You sounded so muffled. I said, this will never work for radio.
Well, we wear the mask to keep from scaring people.
Good. Okay.
It's a little bit different than it used to be, isn't it?
Right. So anyhow, this topic was suggested by a friend of mine who said it would be really nice to have the input from a constitutional attorney. Now, I don't know. Do you call yourself a constitutional attorney? I mean, it was suggested that I call Tim Morgan, because I went to high school with Tim, and I know he's an attorney, and he was on Santa Cruz High on the Air with me back here, 50 years ago plus, and he said, I'd be happy to do it, but I think you can get someone much better. And that's when you came on the line. And you said, sure, I'll do it. So what is a constitutional lawyer? I mean, is that someone who specializes in questions about whether or not this is constitutional?
Well, like everything else, Michael, it depends on what you want it to mean.
Oh.
I think Tim Morgan wanted it to demean someone like him who knows a lot about constitutional law, but thought maybe I had focused on it more than he did. I consider myself a freedom professional, and as such have to learn constitutional law to be able to advocate for freedom.
All right, so let me just ask you point blank. Do you think the government has gone too far, particularly our governor, Gavin Newsom?
Well, if I simply say yes and get up and leave, is that going to be okay?
Whatever you Sure, because we got 1 million callers already, so it won't be a problem with content. But you don't want. But is that your answer? And you without getting up and leaving?
No, that's not my answer.
What is your answer?
My answer is I don't know what the law is today.
Because it keeps changing?
Because it keeps changing. And you've just answered one of my questions.
The Constitution doesn't change.
No.
My understanding is you can't change the Constitution without a constitutional convention, which is a big Megillah, right?
Yes, or amendment is the preferred way of changing it.
I don't believe, and I haven't sat and gone over the Constitution with a fine-tooth comb, but I don't believe that there is any provision in the Constitution which allows the government to suspend our rights. Maybe if we're in martial law or something like that, which some people say we really are. What do you think about that?
Well, I do start with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, for example, the First Amendment. The Congress shall make no law, for example, impeding the freedom of speech or preventing the free exercise of religion. So why can't I say whatever I want to say? Why can't me and my fellow congregants hold a church service together? We are operating under the First Amendment. But
well, the churches have been shut down all over the country.
Yes.
In the name of safety from this pandemic.
Yes, and you've hit it on the head because the exception to constitutional law is the rule of health and safety. The exception. For example, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes famously announced that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Okay. That's not included in free speech, and that's the classic argument,
Exactly. Of course, he was wrong. You can yell fire in a crowded theater.
And that is considered free speech. It's not considered very smart.
No, it considers something you'd get yourself arrested for unless you were actually telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
So it depends on the circumstance, doesn't it?
Okay, well, so help me out here because I'm not trying to goad you into saying something inflammatory. It sounds like I'm trying to do that. I'm really not. And maybe there's no need for this radio program because the government is doing what it's doing, whether or not we have a Saturday special saying, do they have the right to do that?
Well, there is a need for this program, and thank goodness that you have that. You have a radio, and you know how to use it, and that's important. For me, the wake-up call might have been the day after President Trump was elected, when the hue and cry went out. What is the Electoral College? And by the way, is there free tuition?
Oh, yeah.
No,
well,
that demonstrated a widespread lack of knowledge about the Constitution.
But it was the second time around, and the first time around, it was when Bush Jr. was selected, as the lefties like to say, not elected, right?
Still, the cry went out.
Yeah.
And it reminded me that, well, folks like you and I, back when we graduated from high school, you did graduate, didn't you? Yes.
1968, so what is that, 52 years ago? Yeah.
But we walked
June.
out of high school with a pretty good understanding of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Thanks to Bob Listener, my American government teacher, who was the best teacher anybody could have.
I remember Bob calling me into his history class to give talks once in a while. He was that kind of person.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. He exposed everybody to all points of view.
So anyway,
without letting people know what his point of view was, which was great. Anyhow, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, as of that point, some 3.5 years ago, I decided I would start being more active in trying to educate the public on the subject of American freedom. I've written articles about it. I've tried to incorporate them into a book, which I hope to publish. And from time to time, and most recently since this pandemic started, putting out more and more blogs that express my view of things. I don't try to be giving legal advice, and I hope I'm not doing that here today. I'm just trying to lay out the fact that we, the people, are the ultimate deciders of what the Constitution means.
Right.
Now, most people think, and rightly so, the Supreme Court is the ultimate user and interpreter of the Constitution. We resort to them for very important decisions on conflicts that really affect almost all of us in the several states. But actually, the president has to interpret the Constitution to know what his duties are. Congress has to understand the Constitution to know what the limits of their duties are. And there's numerous regulatory agencies making laws all the time that we don't know about and enforcing them and punishing them for it. We are presumed to know the law, but the fact is we don't.
That being said, is it impossible to, for you to say whether any branch of the government has overstepped its authority? Because that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. But maybe you don't think that's true.
Well, I do think it's up to each one of us to decide, because we are interpreters of the Constitution. We would ask the governor, for example, what is the law that you're trying to enforce? Okay? You, starting your program, have asked, well, what's the law today regarding use of the beach? And how do we know that law? Do we have to walk up to a constable on the beach and ask him, what's the law today?
Well, that's what we did yesterday.
Exactly.
Jonty and I, and he told us what the law was. Sorry I'm late with this, but there's a great big download button next to all episodes on ZBS Radio. Oh, okay. Jonty is texting me about something else. All right. Well, let's go to the, since we have a bunch of callers already, let's take the first call, and that is from someone named Nancy in Colorado. Is there some relation here?
Yes, I'm related to Colorado.
You're related to Colorado, and it said Nancy Boffhard.
I see. Well, her name is a lot like mine.
Yeah.
Hello, Nancy.
Oh, here.
Hello.
So, are you spouses?
Nancy's my sister.
Oh, sister. Oh, I see. Okay, Nancy, you're on KSCO. What do you have to say?
I'm a big fan
Of
your radio station and my brother.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. I think you join a lot of people here. But what do you think about the topic today?
I'd like to know, without being too political, has the present president broken the Constitution in very adamant ways?
Specifically?
Well, what he did in Ukraine, some of the restrictions that he's put on people.
You mean travel bans and things like that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Just about anything he's done.
Oh.
I question its constitutionality.
I see. Okay. Well, maybe we have some callers who will react to that.
Yeah, my reaction is it's good to hear that my sister actually agrees with me on some things. Typically, we've been night and day. She's still my sister, though.
Oh, okay. So,
and I can't do a thing about it.
Well, I mean, you called the Saturday Special, and it's my belief that Trump is a regular listener to the Saturday Special. Maybe not right now when it's broadcast, but I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I believe it. I believe he hears this. So you're asking him whether or not he overstepped his bounds. Okay, great.
Yeah, and very clear and obvious against the Constitution.
Well, I'll give you one example of things that he's being lauded for right now, and that is for shutting down entrance into the country, especially from people in places that are high in the virus right now.
Well, are you in that group of people that are lauding the president, Nancy? About that?
Not totally. I don't know. Is that legal in the Constitution for him to do that? Or did he need Congress to vote that in?
No, actually, the president has emergency powers beyond anything we would ever comprehend or allow if we really knew what they were. And each of these powers comes from some previous horrendous thing that was happening, whether it was World War I or World War II, the recession, the massive hit on our economy, 2008, 2009. So we have these emergency powers acts that give the president unquestionable authority way beyond what we thought the Constitution would restrict. And he has actually not used all of those, and now is being sometimes chastised for not using all of those. But I think he rightly turned over the decisions ultimately to the governors of each state. We are actually a federalist organization, a group of separate states that amalgamated for certain purposes, but didn't give up all of their own powers that they would exercise because each state is different.
Okay, well, listen, Nancy, thank you for calling 479-1080, and thank you for being a fan of KSCO. And a fan of your brother, okay? Next caller will be Rory in Watsonville. Globalization versus global trade. Hey, Rory, how you doing?
Hi, and I'll keep that brief. I just wanted to say that globalization does not equal global trade. We should never have sent and offshored our industry to China, which uses slave labor in a communist system with no regulation. We were lied to. We were sold a pig in a poke, and we are hopefully one of the better things coming out of this is that we're seeing the true nature of the Chi-Coms, and that we'll be able to address those issues here going forward in a legislative manner. So the
Do
other
you
thing
agree with me that this could, a possible silver lining is deglobalization? It's got people are being sensitized to the goodness of deglobalization and the badness and the evil of globalization.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Listen, there's a Chinese Communist Party. It has 90 million members. They rule the roost over there. There are no freedoms. The Communist Party owns everything. There is no true free enterprise in China. They have elements of it, but ultimately they're a lockdown prison camp. I know a guy, and I think I mentioned this to you, to UMZ. A colleague of mine got almost stuck in Wuhan. He went over to visit his dad. He didn't know how bad it was. The Chinese were keeping it under wraps. He got there and went, holy smokes, I got to get out of here. Without going into all the details, he watched them close entrances to massive apartment buildings. Okay, they had paramilitary troops on the street. They welded the doors closed. People were not coming out anytime soon. Okay, that happened. I heard that from an eyewitness. So what I want to say is, regards to law, now Modoc County opened up yesterday, and the sheriff told the governor, we're not going to observe your order. We're opening up. We got 9,000 plus citizens. We have no corona cases. We're going to mitigate. We'll be precautious, but we're getting back to work. The county sheriff in Orange County, the sheriff of Orange County, I should say, also told the governor, I'm not going to enforce your order today, regards closing the beach. So the governor is going to get his comeuppance, okay? He's making these orders. They are illegal orders. He doesn't have the power. The county sheriff is the ultimate lawman in each county.
Hold on. Stay there, Rory. Jeff, do you take issue with anything that Rory says?
Well, everything he said is perfectly true, all the way from globalization to Modoc County, a place where I visited once on purpose because it's so remote. Beautiful little place.
Okay, well, I'm specifically asking you if you take issue with the very forceful statement that Rory made, that what the governor has done is illegal, and that the sheriff in some of these places are telling him, go to hell, basically. You don't have the right to tell me to do that, and I'm not going to do it.
Well, the ultimate decision is made by the people on the ground, the sheriff in that case. We have sheriffs all across the country that are in charge of enforcing the law, and they make decisions. Are they going to enforce the law against having handguns on your person? You know, some say yes, some say no.
Okay.
Field carry permits. One last thing is, last weekend I was in Southern Cal. It was hot. Orange County beaches were open. L.A. County closed their beaches, as I believe San Diego did. So people from L.A. County streamed to Orange County. They took photographs at a low angle showing the beaches packed, which, they were packed, but people were keeping social distance. And I've come to really hate that term, by the way. That and we're in this together. become so cliche.
And we
But
will
anyway,
get through this together.
But they have
in
aerial
these
drone
difficult
photos that showed
times.
the media lied about what went on in Orange County last week. So, being the punitive guy that he is, the little would-be despot, Governor Newsom, and I say that in all due respect, would-be despot, he closed Orange County beaches this weekend, and let all the other counties have their beaches open. And the sheriff of Orange County said, no, I'm not going to enforce your order. So I'd love to be down there and watch the California Highway Patrol, meet the Orange County Sheriff's Office and see what kind of a little tete-a-tete they're going to have. So never forget that.
A tit-a-tit.
Chief Lawman Chief Lawman in every county is the sheriff. I'll never forget in the early 90s when the spotted owl baloney was going on, a sheriff in the Northwest told Fish and Wildlife or some federal agency that was coming to enforce a order to not log a certain logging operation, and the sheriff told him, you step 1 foot in my county with your agents, and they'll be spending the night in the county jail. So, you want it? Come and get it. We'll put you in jail. The guys never showed up, and that sheriff did the ceremonial first cut of the tree. You can find that on the internet. So, use your power, people. Push back at the city, county, and state level. And we've been prepped for years with the curl up in a ball mentality. Don't fight back, just curl up in a ball. So half of the country is brainwashed by not fighting back. MZ, you certainly heard Charlie's last caller Thursday.
I didn't. I never get to listen to KSCO.
Well, listen to it. His name was Hans. The guy was hysterical. He believes everything. That the best news we have is that antibody studies in both Santa Clara and LA County are showing the prevalence of this virus 50 to 80 times higher than previously thought. The death rate then goes down to 0.1, 0.2%. It's not a reason to shut down the economy. And we better get this economy back up on its feet, or we're going to have far bigger problems than a stupid virus.
I wish I could be multitasking like you, because you get your job, you get your work done during the day, and I guess you get to listen to KSCO a lot. I wish I could, but I can't.
Well, I can't always. I mean, I didn't hear that caller live Thursday because I had things going on. But I'm outside. I'm driving from field to field. Thank God I've been able to work. Yeah. I don't know how people for 6 weeks are sitting on their asses. I don't understand how they're doing it. Got to get back to work. The other thing that was brought up, 1957, the bad flu outbreak, I think it was like 150, 160,000 deaths in 1957, due just to the flu. Did we have a poop conniption and shut the economy down? No. 1968, remember the Hong Kong flu?
Yeah.
100,000 plus people died. Did we shut the economy down? No. They were out protesting the Vietnam War. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. Thank you. I'll be listening with great attention.
Thank you, Rory, for calling 479-1080, and that line is now open. Yeah, Jeff.
No. Oh, yeah. Oh, you have another Jeff out there?
Oh, Mary in Aromas wants to talk to MZ for a second. Go ahead, Mary, but everybody else is listening too.
Oh, Michael, this is Mary, the 87, half-year-old friend of yours.
Yes.
Yes. I was very frightened here a couple of years ago, but now I see a light at the end of the tunnel. Our president is going to save us.
Wait a minute. What were you frightened a couple of years ago for? Were you afraid? Were you afraid that he had been
I was afraid for all my children that we were losing our everything.
Okay. Great. But now did you not vote for Trump then, or?
Oh no, I love Trump.
Oh, okay.
I think he's our savior.
Yeah, I agree with you actually. So, well, good. All righty. Well, I'm happy you talked to me for a lit, and that everybody else got to hear it too, Mary.
Well, I was gone for 7 weeks. I went to Arizona the 22nd of February and didn't get home. When it was time to come home, I couldn't fly.
Oh, yeah.
So I almost had to change addresses.
And wait a minute. So how did you get home?
After 5 weeks, my son's in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
He said, you know what, Mother? I'm going to rent a car on Wednesday, and I'm taking you home. And then I'll spend the weekend.
That was
That's
great.
right. We had a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
Of course, he's fun, and so am I. Isn't that a sick thing to say?
Yeah, you're a lot of fun. You are a lot of fun. And
I am.
Totally. Yeah.
My
And,
8 great-grandchildren love me because I laugh all the time.
and as soon as we're allowed to have events here at KSCO, again, without social distancing, I can't wait to have you here be the master of ceremonies of one of these events.
Well,
okay?
one day, I live clear out here by the big barn,
Oh yeah.
and I don't drive. I'm locked in my house. Nobody will come and visit me. But this whole
Who wants to go on a caravan with MZ with me to go visit Mary? Josh raised his hand. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are we going to exercise social distancing?
Oh,
or what?
you'd love my place.
Okay.
I live in a 26-acre ranch. They're all farmers markets, and they never had to quit. They're working every day.
Wow. Okay, I've got your number, Mary. We'll figure out something here.
All right.
All right, and thank you for calling 479-1080. There's my good friend Mary in Aromas. Okay, here is Lee and Spreckles. Unless we stop it, they'll start. Go ahead.
Good morning,
MZ.
Michael and Jeff.
Yes.
And all that are listening.
Right.
What is the most important thing that we must do if we owned Boeing and our planes were coming out of the sky? We've got to nail down what's bringing them, what caused the accident. That's why a black box, that's why we have to, when people say on the news and others that this is a normal virus, I'm sorry. All the evidence that I've seen for the past weeks, 10, 12 weeks now, it all points to a man-made virus. And come winter, if we haven't already now, if we don't get to the absolute cause of this virus, because I'm seeing people that are, because of you, Mike, you brought people to me that I can trust. For pharmacist Ben Fuchs came out on Wednesday night, and he spent 2.5 or 3 hours on Coast to Coast AM radio, and I heard stuff from Ben that I'll tell you what, I would love to see. I'd like to see him put those statements to these healthcare providers that are, that are saying anything different than they haven't actually.
Lee, my experience is that people love pharmacist Ben Fuchs. He has nothing but positive, comments.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you something. Ever since the Wednesday night appearance that on George's show, and I wasn't aware that it went longer than the standard 2 hours, but in any case, I've gotten, I almost couldn't believe it because I've gotten a number, not crushing number, but a number of very, very insulted people responding, saying that it was irresponsible and how could George Norrie do that, and wow. Anyhow, I've been in contact with pharmacist Ben this morning, but maybe it's in order for us to see his perspective here on KSCO. But anyhow, I got a full board, so I got to move on.
God's blessing to us, Mike, is our body's immune resistance and sunlight and masks. Ben's talked many times on shallow breathing. I've had a guy that was teaching shallow breathing in 1978 tell me, come to the middle school, I teach it, I want you to hear about it. A Frenchman that owned a jewelry store, and I can tell you that masks, we're rebreathing our own emissions.
Oh, I won't wear them. I'm sorry. It makes me sick.
And so this attorney that you have here addressing the rights to get out, sure, if we get out, but if we relax and don't get to that, what the cause of who built this, who it is. If they'll make another one, and then they'll break the back of our society. That's what they're up to.
Great point. Thank you for making it here on the Saturday Special, Lee and Spreckles. Dean Sutton of Law of the Land. Dean is an attorney, and you can like him anyway, but he's on with us now.
Your humble servant, MC. Thank you. I'm enjoying this topic this morning. I have a couple of things to add, if you'll allow me.
Please.
Your question: can the governor? Does the governor have the power to order people off the beach? The short answer is yes. However, it's not unlimited, and it has the premise for it is in our constitutional system, each state has the inherent power. It's called the police power. And that doesn't mean just guys with badges and guns. It means the inherent power.
Building permits and things like that.
Right, yeah. It's just society to get together to protect, to provide for, public health, education, welfare, safety, and morals, by the way. Okay, so we organize in a way, and we give somebody some power. We vote some guy in and say, okay, here, do it. Protect us from harm. That's the first premise, defense. The thing that's really sneaky and insidious about this kind of a virus is that it can, if it's communicable through the air from person to person, God, what can the government do? What can anybody do to protect it? So now you have the balance. You have the two powers. You have the individual right, and then you have the government power and duty to protect. So it becomes a nanny state sort of problem. At what point does the government's power, the governor saying, I'm going to protect you from yourselves, you stupid people. You're going to get together and you're going to cause a lot of people to die and cause problems. At what point does that cross the line? You obviously and rightfully believe that we're reaching that point and you about had it. But on the other thing, it's my joke here all the time. When President Harry Truman said, "Lord, please send me a one-armed economist." On one hand, if a lot of people get sick all at once, it'll flood the county hospitals. We'll be all screwed up. We'll have hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people die, and all at public expense. If we can kind of spread it out, then that's the premise, and it's reasonable. It's not some conspiracy. I don't think it's some weird ass dictator. It's not the communists taking over. These are probably very nice people trying to do good in a bad situation to try to make the death less and the illness less. And the public health worse. On the other hand, there's the economic thing that causes all kinds of problems. So the short answer is the state can act in an emergency to protect public health, period. However, on the other hand, the pushback is there's always individual rights. What can the federal government do? Not much. The Constitution says that the feds are set up to provide the general welfare in the preamble. It says that the president has the all executive power. That means the power to act, especially in an emergency. That's always been assumed and presumed. That's never been a question. If there's an emergency, can the president kick in and say, there's an earthquake or a volcano, and we're going to send the federal government in and the National Guard to help? That's not the big question. But the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law. The government can't prohibit freedom of speech or press or religion or the right of the people peaceably to assemble. And obviously you go right to that, and that applies to the states. If the government is trying to keep people from peaceably assembling for no good reason, that's unconstitutional. It has no power to do that. So the question is the emergency big enough? Is it bad enough to warrant reasonable use of this power?
And I say the answer to that is no. What do you say?
Well, for a while, I say yes. After a certain point, I say no. And there's a fuzzy line in there somewhere.
Jesus. I can't get anything out of either of these guys. I love both Jeff Bosshard and Dean Sutton. And none of these guys are doing anything but just gobbledygook. They're just dancing around. They're not answering my questions. What's wrong with the both of you? What's wrong with you?
They have the right to do it up to a point.
Oh,
I mean, that's the answer.
What point? I think they've gone past that point. Do you?
Let me tell you a quick story. I tell on my show almost every week lately.
You won't answer the friggin' question. Yes or no?
I did, yes. What would you do about Mary Mallon? Mary Mallon, a sweet little Irish lass who came here to become an American. She was a cook, a beautiful little gal. But everywhere she went, behind her, she left a trail of people catching, are you ready for this? Typhoid fever. This is Typhoid Mary. What did they do with her? She did nothing wrong. She had every right. She committed no crime. But just her physical presence was a danger to the health of everybody else around her. They finally had to take her. She committed no crime, but they took her and put her on a little house on a little island in New York Harbor and left her there in like solitary confinement for the rest of her life because she was a danger with typhoid fever. So, at some point, public health is kind of a counterbalance to individual rights. That's all.
Okay. Listen, please don't take this the wrong way, both of you, because I love both of you. I really do. But I've had an epiphany today during the Saturday special. I now realize why most of the elected officials come from the ranks of attorneys, because they speak out of all sides of their mouths. No one comes and says, no one comes and speaks definitively. Even my good friend Dean and my good. Go ahead, Dean.
Hey, listen. Can you just get the freedom to drive wherever you want to, anytime you want to? Hell yes, except there's a reason for a stop sign. There's a reason for a red light. I mean, we have rights, but at some point, they
obviously, but it reminds me of the joke. Why do Jews always answer questions with questions? Why shouldn't they?
Why shouldn't they? Yeah. Why shouldn't they? All right. Well,
poor Jeff Bosshard has been stepped on by you and me. You want to say something, Jeff?
Oh, actually, I agree with Dean on many points. He pointed out that the governor has a duty to try to protect us, but that duty also extends to protect our businesses and our livelihood. So there has to be a transition.
I say he has failed miserably with that.
Well, he has.
And
because
can I get okay? Good. There's a definitive.
But the problem he doesn't have all the science that he wants to back up whatever he ends up doing. The data isn't there for him. He wants all the data. He wants to be able to track everybody down and find out who has the disease and who doesn't. We may never get to that point, but we will get to the point where our economy goes down so far that it will take too long to bounce back. The airline industry may never come back.
Yes, Dean Sutton.
Let me just end with this. Let me give you this. Whenever we have somebody that's going to do a stupid thing, lawyers say, okay, no problem. We'll do full disclosure, and then, you sign a waiver, an understanding and a waiver. If you're going to get on the roller coaster, you sign this piece of paper, I know I'm likely to die, and I'm going to do it anyway, okay? And if we're at the point now where if people are given full disclosure about the risk they take, that even though, they're going to open up business and they're going to mix with people and somebody's going to get sick, more people will, they make a risk, they may not get sick, but they may bring it home and kill grandma with it or something. We're at that point. I would think that if people are smart enough to figure out what they're going to do and not do, if you give them full disclosure and you say, look, here it is, we're going to open it up, and people are saying, I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to do a stupid thing, but I need to go to work. I need to, that's where we are.
Okay. How can I thank you for calling, Dean Sutton?
You call, we haul, that's all. Okay. Listen on Thursday nights from 8 to 9, Law of the Land.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Here's Sean in Live Oak about governors out overreach. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. Well, the other point I was trying to make here is that killing the economy isn't just bad in business-wise. It leads to suicides. It leads to people becoming homeless and suffering mortality from being in the condition of homeless.
And it leads to looting and feces.
Yeah, but I'm talking about deaths here. I'm talking about the cure that the governor is doing is worse than the disease. The governor may wind up killing more people than the disease does.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, one effect has been...
I don't say may, I say will. But go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, many local hospitals are closed down, partly because they're held in reserve for possible overflow COVID patients, and partly because the so-called selective surgeries and so forth,
elective, yeah,
are being put off. So people are putting off things that are even health-threatening. I have a relative who's one of those, who's got to wait until I think May 9th or so to get out there and get the treatment he has been told he needs right away. So it's hitting home to a lot of people, including doctors.
I hope he doesn't
and nurses.
expire first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
I guess another thing is getting on the health care, having that shut down, is people that are getting delays on getting biopsies done for cancer. The earlier you find out you have cancer and start doing it, the more chance you have of recovery. By delaying that, you'll be killing people.
Exactly. All righty. Hey, thanks for calling 479-1080 and adding to the program.
Okay, bye.
Appreciate it. There goes Sean in Live Oak. Here comes, who is this? Oh, Colonel Terry, the real facts and the real big picture. Go ahead, Colonel Terry.
The real big picture, and I think Dean and your other guests would agree with me, we have a dilemma. We have a dilemma. And a dilemma, remember, is it's a difficult choice between two or more alternatives that may have very undesirable extremes. But they all compete for a solution. And a dilemma is those hard choices. The dilemma we're confronting is this is serious, dangerous virus. I'm convinced the Chinese military germ warfare people developed it, but we're stuck with it. And it's serious. Obviously, it's killing people. Look at all the people in New York hospitals. Look at the people they wheel in at all ages, and then the hundreds of hours of care they require. So it pollutes, it infects us. It's an invasion. We have to address it. And it will continue to kill more and more Americans and disrupt our society and overwhelm our health care facilities. That's problem one. Number two is, yes, it's disrupting our heretofore economic pattern, tragic as it is. It's impacting that as well. The dilemma is, do we shut down enough of the economy so we truly do restrict people, as Dean just said, taking it home to grandma? Because that's what you're doing every time you go out, even with a mask, the chance that you will bring it back to your household, or when you go visit grandma to her. And that's happened. On the other hand, how much economic disruption can we take, or restrictions? We can take quite a bit. We can continue to pump out money, as we're doing, and we can decide we have to work a new adjustment and look at the big picture. And the big picture is, what do we do if this thing doesn't go away? Worse yet, it mutates into different varieties. But let's say it doesn't go away, it continues to be infectious, and we don't have a worldwide easy vaccine. How much continued increase in sick people, dying people in the U.S., and most especially critical, the big picture is critical, chronically ill. Does every gymnasium have to be converted to a hospital in the country, in every high school across the country, before we decide we have to figure out how to stop the spread? And how do we do that in a way that balances with maintaining some of economic activity? I think we have to transition our economic activity, as we're doing, to household stuff and to what is essential. There it is. Or we cannot elect, as the experts in this are saying, Fauci and others, who are clearly experts, all over the world, it's worked to restrict activity. But then how much do you restrict it? And there's no constitutional violation by doing that, which, if you will, promotes our common welfare. But that's the reality. And maybe some states should say, fine, we're going to have it wide open and we'll tolerate taking this to our children and grandmother. How do we stop that from impacting the rest of the country that doesn't want to do that? And on Trump, I voted for him because I wanted immigration enforced. I still do. And he's correct about some things. But he's been terribly wrong, dangerous, and negligent about others. Those are also part of the reality.
Okay, it sounds like I'm cutting you off because I love Trump and you don't, but I'm not. I'm cutting you off because it's the end of the first hour. Thank you, Colonel Terry. KSCO, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose.
Be clearing out, making for mostly clear skies overnight, patchy fog, and clear skies for your Sunday, and temperatures warming up to about what you'll experience today. KSCO News Talk Time, 11:06. We're going to get you over to the Saturday special real shortly, but we are still waiting for the man of the hour, as he runs into the studio with what could possibly be a pork sandwich. I don't know. We'll find out right here on KSCO.
It's not a pork sandwich.
It's not?
No.
Darn. What kind of sandwich is it?
It's a cheeseburger.
Delicious.
Yeah, it does. It looks delicious. And people have told me that it's very rude to masticate on the air.
Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Because it's rude. It's like
you hear all that munch on the on the air.
Yeah, and it's disgusting. And so I'm going to let you and Jeff Bossard talk while I masticate off the air with my microphone turned. I love to masticate. I love nothing more than to masticate.
Yes, and especially if it is a pork sandwich, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
No, it's not. It's a cheese.
If it was.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pork, and more pork. Pork belly, from the barbecue place down the road. A fabulous place. You've heard my commercial.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and we have Steve in Santa Cruz and John in Pasadena and Estelle in Santa Clara and Pamela in SoCal and Amy in Green Valley.
Yeah.
This person deserves an award for being the best caller. But we don't want. Maybe we shouldn't do that, because when we've given awards for being the best caller in the past, the people their heads get so big that they can't fit through the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. You know what I need to do while my cheeseburger gets cold? We have to play our number 2. And remind me about the jaunty thing too, okay?
Yes.
Hour 2.
Okay. Do you want to do? There's 2 versions of that.
No, not the long one. The short one is too long already because we have a full board. Maybe we should dispense with it altogether. What do you think?
I don't know. I think we should give him the platform, because, I love having our digital segment, and Jaunty's got to have his.
He's a
segment.
very, very smart man and a very good boy, despite what everybody says.
Yes.
All right, here's our number 2.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back. KSCO has the inside track.
I didn't set this up right, so you're going to have to listen to me chew. But it's only for another 3 seconds.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
We will do the report from Jaunty, but 5 or 10 minutes from now. Okay, remind me, Josh Stevens.
I'll
all right.
try.
Welcome to our number. I'm going to say welcome back. I was going to say welcome back to our number 2, but that's wrong. I'm saying I'm welcoming you to I'm welcoming our audience to, not back to, but to our number 2. And it drives me crazy when the other hosts on this station, they say, welcome back to our number 2. You need to welcome them to our number 2. That's not back.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no.
And I want to
commercial break.
fire the staff that continues to do that. I want to flex my muscles and show how powerful I am.
Or maybe somebody else will do that for you when they buy that host's show time slot, and then silences that host.
That's a good idea.
Exactly.
That's a good idea, Josh Stevens. Thank you, because then we'll have a financial motivation.
Absolutely.
To get rid of the host.
Money talks.
And that's right. So yeah, if there's a host that you cannot stand on KSCO, and you can't stand that person enough to pay to have that person silenced, with either yourself, if you want to do the show, if you want to step into the slot, or with some other program content that you instruct us to run, because you'll own the time then, right?
Yep.
Then just send me an email if you want to talk about that. I'll give you the rates and stuff. It's not inexpensive. It has to be worth our while, and and so forth. But if you've always wanted to silence a host and feel powerful that you could do it, KSCO will do anything for money. We will. All right. Jeff Bossart is our guest. The subject today, Jeff is an attorney, longtime attorney in Santa Cruz, well-schooled in the Constitution and constitutional law. And this is, the discussion is warranted because of what I think is being done by our government officials. I think they're overreacting, and I think they're overstepping their authority. And when I ask an attorney like Jeff, so far I don't get a straight answer, except they are saying there are many different nuances, there are many things to consider, which is true, But I don't think anybody has the right to close a beach. And I don't think anybody has a right to close all businesses and let some other business be open. I just don't. That doesn't feel right. I want to take Amy's call now. Amy, welcome to the KSCO Saturday Special. Wait a minute. Here you are. Now you're there. Now you're there. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of descriptive.
What were you going to say? What did you say?
For the wonderful lecture about the constitutional
lawyer, yes.
And thank you, MZ, for bringing this interesting.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. Thank. It was suggested by Warm Board Terry. And he said he was going to call, but he better. I don't know how he's going to get in because the phone lines are jammed.
I'm sorry.
Hey, what's wrong with your cell phone? It's cutting out terribly.
Can you see? Can you hear?
Yeah, but you're cutting out terribly, so it's really hard. When we hear you great, but then it's crackling and cutting in and out.
That's horrible. I think I'm gonna use my iPhone. This is not good. This land phone is horrible.
Land phones are just land phones are this. This
is Comcast. Like I use cell phone. Okay.
Okay. Well, here now you're okay. So if it crackles again, we'll tell you, and then you can switch off and use the cell phone.
Just talk fast.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to talk about the specific questions discussed. I just wanted to share some of my personal experience with this American Constitution. I'm a Chinese by birth. I live in China for 30 years, and under the communist regime. And so we were being brainwashed and also being isolated. And for 30 years, we didn't know anything happened outside the world. But that time, there's no internet, no Google, no Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. But magically, we have one thing, is the radio wave. So we can hear Voice of America. So maybe to some American liberals, when I come here in Berkeley, they will think that this part of American government's propaganda. But to us, when people keep in the dark and in the confinement, and this is a light from the heaven, it's voice from the God. And through the Voice America, we know there's another place, it's such a place on earth, and people, as a individual human being, has rights, and the right to freedom of choice, a right to pursue their own happiness. And the most beautiful thing is that we understand and we learn about the Constitution. And those rights was guaranteed by the Constitution. So, just unbelievable. I just wanted to share this. So, and to me, this is a big thing. So that's why I decided that time we're just secretly hoping, and we have a bigger earthquake. So the earth turned around and upside down, and so I come up and was in America that time, So, but finally, long story for sure, and finally, 1982, and my dream come true. I come to America, and but the reality is I went to Berkeley, and the first thing they asked me about why I want to come into America. I say, well, I want to be free, and I want to be have a human rights, and that my rights will be guaranteed by Constitution. But the professor, listener, just he didn't like that, not impressed. He said, "Oh, well, everybody says that, no big deal," and just said, "I need to listen to more interesting." So who's next? So then I asked him. I said, "When I can learn a Constitution, because that's all I wanted to know." And he said, "Well, in the library." He said, "Be my guest." So, but he not really discouraged me. And actually, I'm more curious about what about the Constitution. So I went to the library. I read about it, and more I read, I just really unbelievable. This is given to America, to American people.
Gee, the cutting in and cutting out is back again. So I think we're going to take you up on your offer to call back on the cell phone. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, all of us are riveted, Amy, about what you have to say. So please call right back. Okay. It's KSCO, your favorite radio station. I'm MZ. In the control room is Josh Stevens and his orchestra, and he's keeping the program going. We have a discussion today of the Constitution insofar as it applies to what is happening to all of us in these unprecedented days of the government ordering us to shut down our businesses temporarily, not go to work, not make a living. But do they have the right to do that? And I guess some say yes and some say no. But anyhow, we were talking with a particularly amazing caller who does not care for socialism or communism because she grew up with socialism and communism in China. And okay, she's back here. So, okay, Amy, you're on a cell phone, and okay, continue. I'm sorry. Do you remember where you were?
Yes.
You went to the library because your professor wouldn't give you the time of day, right? So.
Yeah. So I started studying this Constitution, and I think this T-Mobile probably much better than Comcast. So.
Yes, that is true. Yeah. Way better.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I try to say is that the most important part of it inspire me and touch me. I cannot say the words touch. Actually, it's like a lightning hit me head to toe. It's the very simple sentence on this Constitution is we the people. Because maybe to American people, maybe that's no big deal, so bad the way the people. But to me, it's really important because in China, we never been treated as a people with the rights. So we just like a bunch of cattle, lambs sliding and herding to the sliding house, slider house. So we never been treated as a people. So we the people. So this really hit me. And today I talk about still very excited and get emotional. Because that means, the people have the real power, and people can use this power to examine our government, our politicians, and different governments, or law enforcement agencies, and we have the. People have this absolute power, not the government have absolute power. And
well, the government is sure acting like it has absolute power now. What do you think of the edicts from the various politicians, the governors and the president and the local mayors and so forth? Do you think they've gone too far?
I think so, and different circumstances. You know, we cannot briefly say they all. You know, but that's why. But the people, we had to exercise the right and to examine. Are they really abuse the power we give it to them, or use brutality and neglect the power or whatever, you know, and to suppressing the people. So that's our rights. We had to exercise that right. And so that's the beauty about the Constitution. That's the only thing, the hope we have for make America normal and healthy again. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, great. Would you be okay with staying on hold in case anybody? We got a full board of people, and I don't know. Maybe some people would like to. You'll be able to listen to the program either way.
Yes,
you know, you can
I
listen
think it's
online.
Very exciting discussion. Yeah, I would like to.
Okay, good. So we're going to lock you in.
Exercise our rights.
Right, we're going to lock you in, and so if anybody wants to talk to Amy. Who is on hold now or will be calling in later, you'll be able to do that, okay? But now I want to take the next caller. Oh, my gosh.
Would you mind throwing her on Fader 2 so that way...
Sure,
volumes...
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I
gotta
have to unlock it first, and then... okay, now Fader 2. Okay, and now we can lock.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Josh Stevens. Okay, wow, there's someone who's been the longest caller. It's been Estelle in Santa Clara. Hey, Estelle, you're on the air. Thank you for waiting almost 40 minutes.
Oh, hi. Thank you for taking my call. Yes, I've been listening to some of your callers, and I really agree with them. This is a complete chaos and a nonsense, excuse me. This is how they use the communists, use people, brainwashing them, and slowly making them believing that this is what, you know, they're doing. See, they have the power. Mr. Newsom has this power with him, but what he does not know is that he does not have anything. He is totally empty inside. God is the one that has the power. And since I am a senior, they are also trying to isolate all seniors, saying you need to stay home and delivering the meals, free meals. I certainly do not accept any free meals from the government because I am still working and providing for myself. Another thing I wanted to say is that there will be a lot of medical issues coming up. I've had a toothache for the last 6 weeks. My filling has came out, and I am not able to see my dentist because she's also grounded in the home. And another thing is our mail carriers, they do not have a restroom to go to. Once they leave their station in the morning, they go through different little areas, and they are not able to find a bathroom. They have to go try to find businesses to use, to ask to please let them use their restroom, you know, the stores that are open. So this is totally communism that is happening in America. I came here a long time ago, and I was so happy and so grateful to become a citizen. But now, if Mr. Newsom continue this, I am going to be moving out of California. I have 2 sons that serve in the military, and they are both working. They do not have the fear. The fear is from fear. That's what Satan does to you. He puts fear into you and wants you to stay in and do not have any communication with people. That lady that just called, she is absolutely right. And bless her heart that she is thinking that way and able to help other people to see. The American people have to open their eyes and their ears and look around, and that mask is actually causing a lot of problems. I have allergy, I have sinus problem, and it causes an allergy each time that I leave it on for more than 2-3 hours. I have to remove it. So, and I am not able to see my doctor either. So tell Mr. Newsom, if he's listening, that he is going to have a chaos on his hands with sickness and medical problem. Jesus Christ is in charge of this, no one else.
Okay, Estelle, are you aware that that Amy, the lady you spoke highly of, is still on with us, and you can talk directly to her if you want to, and she's on and she can talk to you because I've locked her in as a guest actually.
Well, I'm very pleased that this lady is also, since she's from a communist country, that my island was taken with a coup when they came in and shot overnight by a communist man that was a preacher, a rejected preacher that was being trained by the Russian for 2 years. He was actually a vice president, and he did that to the president. He overthrew the president, and then he went to England, to the communist country, and underground and got all his weapons and came one night very slowly in the middle of the night and killed 45 people and took over. That was the first coup on the island. So then for 3 days, people were not able to get out of their houses. But since the Americans had their tracking station there, they could not touch the Americans. So that was the power. That is the power that the American people have and had in other countries. So that is the time that I left. My husband sent me back. I left because I did not want to stay. But after that, this man was living in his, the president never went back. He was in exile now in England, and this man, which is now a communist man, took over, but he was not ever able to get out of his mansion because he had to have 5 bodyguards with him because the people were waiting to kill him. And also, so he lived this kind of life until he died. So then they had another person that became a president, and then things changed. But since the people were waiting to kill him, he was not able to really change as much things. The people on the island were very, very friendly. We had no way of knowing what communism was. We had no way of being free-full. People were happy until this man changed things. So I came to America for freedom, for me to be free. And guess what? I am still free right now because with this virus, it has not affected me one bit. I am working. I am helping other people. So I am showing them and letting them know that God is their answer. There is no one, not the president, not Mr. Newsom, no other person is going to tell them what to do. God, Mr. Newsom, and President Trump needs to go into their prayer closet and pray to God only, and wait for an answer instead of going to all these other people and asking for advice. That is what I want to say today.
Thank you for saying it, Estelle. We appreciate it very, very much. Now, I'm going to take the next caller will be David in San Francisco. David, you're on the air on KSCO.
Oh, thanks, Michael. And for your guest, when I first was inspired by the founding fathers, my favorite founding fathers are Thomas Paine and Ben Franklin. And they're both really good at catchphrases. You know, what are the words that brought America together? You know, united you stand, divided you fall, equal justice under the law, and taxation with representation. So that on April 15th, when we pay our taxes, we all buy ourselves something nice. You know, we buy ourselves a good college, or we buy ourselves a good bridge, or a fresh water system, or a sewage system, or something for us, so that we, the people, can all use it. And that's what taxation with representation is all about. And the idea that the biggest tax cheats are being given all of this money by the Treasury right now. They gave a tax break to the biggest corporations. Many of them don't even pay any taxes anymore. And still, those guys are getting these free handouts from Trump. And so
wait, David, if we could just stick to the, you can call with this kind of a call anytime on any of our other hundreds of talk shows. I want to keep it to the topic, please, and that's the Constitution. And has the Constitution been violated by the government officials, national, state, local? Have they overstepped? Have they overstepped their authority by ordering businesses closed and beaches closed and things like that? Please just answer that question. Okay?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Because it's whether or not the town is a colony of some corporation that doesn't know local conditions. For example, 1776, the king lived 6 weeks away across the ocean, and he didn't know if there was a flood in Florida or a drought in Manhattan. He didn't care. He wanted his taxes, and he was sucking all the money back there. But taxation with representation means that we, are buying ourselves something nice. And our representatives are supposed to be the bargainers to make sure that we get something good, and we get good quality built to last. And the idea that these guys are crying the blues because in other words, a business license is supposed to be somebody that's not going to be a parasite. If somebody's going to imitate the king and suck all the money back to Paris, that's no advantage to the local county. So are these businesses going to have an insurance policy? If you go in there and get sick, are they going to cover your medical bills? Or do they?
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is absolutely not. None of the government officials have overstepped their bounds, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's a public service.
Yeah.
In other words, we give a business license to do something good for the community. We don't give them a business license to kill their customers.
Okay.
And that's basically they're begging to kill their customers.
Yeah, Amy is still with us, and if she has anything she wants to say, she doesn't have to wait to be put on because she is on. So I just wanted you to know that, Amy, and I want the other people to know that if you want to address something that Amy said that either you take issue with or whatever, feel free to do so, and she'll be able to respond without my having to put her on the air because she is on the air. Okay. So, David, thanks for calling 479-1080. Appreciate hearing from you. Billy Sunshine, we need a better safety net. What is that all about?
Because you're right about this. You are right about the part that it's tragic that there will be some suicides. People will lose their homes. That's insane.
Hey, you know what? I made a terrible mistake. Just a second. I feel like a fool. I just told Amy that all she needs to do is talk, and I realized I had her volume down because Josh told me to put her. Yeah, you know me. I always blame other people. I never take responsibility for anything myself. Amy, have you been trying to say things?
No. I just say it's fine. Just listen to everybody.
Okay, good.
I think I tell everybody exercise the way the people that right.
Good. I'm going to leave your volume half up, so try not to sneeze or belch or fart. Okay, when you because it'll go over the air. But Billy Sunshine, continue.
So it's true that people are just teetering on the edge. So these kinds of things will happen. These pandemics or whatever, where we need to lock down possibly. So maybe we shouldn't be 1 or 2 weeks. The average American shouldn't be 1 or 2 weeks away from losing their job or their house. If we had a strong social safety net, number one, and number two, health for everybody, so that nobody's spreading viruses just because they have to go into work or they need the dollar, or they can't stay out of, they can't see a doctor, that kind of thing. You want the people making your food to be healthy, just like you. And so that's the answer to this problem. After this is all over, we need to relook at ourselves and set ourselves up so there won't be the suicides, there won't be the home loss. What do you think, MZ? Amy?
I can't. I'm speechless. But let me say this. I don't think I've ever heard you make more sense. But anyhow, thank you for calling, Billy. The next person is going to be the one who gave me the idea for this program. Da, 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 da. It's Warmboard Terry Alsberg. Terry, you're on.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine. Yeah.
All right. So here's my thoughts to your, I guess Don Sutton's not on anymore.
Dean Sutton, yeah. Actually, it's better to not be on a speakerphone because you sound distant.
Okay. How's this?
Much better. Go ahead.
All right. So, to me, the whole thing that makes this country unique, what makes it exceptional, is that we have limited government. It's what the Constitution is about. It limits the right of the government to do things, and it puts the individual in the supreme position. And the only time, and I'm not a lawyer, but as far as I understand it, the Bill of Rights is nearly inviolate. Now, it's not entirely inviolate. You can't fire in a crowded theater because there could be imminent death caused by that. And Dean gave the example of Typhoid Mary, where you had an individual who actually was infected with typhus fever, thyroid fever, whatever it is, and with typhus, and she was infected and killing people. We knew that. However, the incidence of this disease is a tiny, tiny fraction of the population. It's tenths of 1%. It's hundredths of 1%. And so I think that whenever you are abrogating any one of the Bill of Rights, yes, there are extreme circumstances under which you can do it, but they have to be literally extreme and provable. And this is anything but. It looks like this death rate is going to be similar to a typical flu season, and we don't shut down the country for that. It's going to be typical, similar to what happened with SARS and with H1N1, and we didn't close the country down for that. So I think that the entire thing fails the constitutional argument because, in baseball, the tie goes to the runner. In our society, the tie goes to the citizen. The citizen always wins over the government unless the government can make an absolutely compelling case. Typhoid Mary might have been a compelling case. But this clearly is not. It's so far from the line that they need to be able to get over to do what they're doing that basically they're taking. This is what's called a taking because they're taking property from business owners without just compensation, without due process. And I'm not even sure how much due process. That's the other question I particularly wanted to ask your guest is laws are passed by legislatures. Now, I suspect that the legislature probably passed some sort of an emergency powers that they granted to the governor that says, well, if you can declare X emergency for X number of days, you have these number of powers. But surely it must be limited. I'd like to ask them that legal question. Is there such a statute under which they're operating? And if there is such a statute, it cannot be an open-ended statute. I can't imagine that would be a constitutional thing. Forget about whether or not the legislature can pass it. would it pass constitutional muster to create an Emergency Powers Act so overly broad that a governor can declare it on his own? It goes as long as he wants to, and its scope of powers is as broad as he thinks that they can be. It basically makes him into an emperor.
Jeff's mic has been turned on. By the way, Jeff, welcome back to KSC. I haven't heard from you very much, and you're the guest.
Sorry I didn't go out for lunch.
Yeah.
I was thinking I might call in. No, that would work. Well, first of all, I agree, of course, that our country was founded on that ideal of personal freedom. It's the only country that was, and that's the difference between us and China, for example, where they can take a whole apartment house and weld the doors shut, keep people in. We are doing what we are doing today voluntarily. I don't know of any law passed by our state legislature that gives anyone the rights that the power that the governor's exercising, but we are consenting to that. And that's the whole idea of our government under the Declaration of Independence.
Did you hear Warmboard Terry say, I'm not?
I'm not. And Michael, are you consenting to this?
No, I'm not.
No?
I'm just saying that a majority are. I voluntarily consent to some of it.
And by the way, that's the other thing about this country. The important thing about this country is not that it's a democracy. Just to give you an extreme example, the majority of the population is still white in this country. If all the Caucasians in this country decided to pass a law, notwithstanding the 14th Amendment and some other problems, they could enslave black people. And if it was done by a majority vote, you could say, yeah, you could do it. But in fact, we can't do it. And that's the reason why we have the Bill of Rights, why we have the amendments, because we decide that even if the majority votes for something, even if the majority of people consent to something, that doesn't make it true. There are limitations on government. The Bill of Rights says so. And it doesn't matter how many votes you get to get rid of free speech or freedom of religion or anything like that. I'm sorry. That's not enough votes to do that until you amend the Constitution. They haven't amended the Constitution, so how do they get to do it?
Well, you're right about that in one sense. I'm just saying that those of us who stay home are doing it voluntarily because we don't agree that the power is there to stop us from going out of our houses. When they close the beaches and they close the parks, I can still walk up and down the streets anywhere I want, and they can't stop me. So that's a freedom I have, and I'm not losing that. But the justification has to be made, and again, it's a balancing. The governor has certain duties to us regarding health, but he also has duties with regard to our freedoms of business operation. And we don't want people to open up businesses that are going to automatically kill people. I can't see myself going into a restaurant right now under a situation where we're supposed to wear face masks because I can't eat with a face mask on. So it can be ridiculous, just like the county of San Mateo is telling people you can drive anywhere you want for recreation, but you can't drive more than 10 miles from home. Now, that doesn't make sense. So the bottom line is...
not make sense. It's got to be unconstitutional, I would think.
Well, that's the point about law. It's supposed to make sense. I spent 3 years studying law and realized that the importance of studying it was to accept, first of all, everything that was common sense and then try to work on those things that weren't. And there are a lot that aren't common sense, but they are the law.
But anyhow, you haven't really addressed what is the right of the governor, for example, to have people arrested for violating his guidelines. And people are getting arrested. People are getting fined. They're getting $1,000 citations for not wearing masks, for being too far from their homes, for, I have a business, and I got to tell you, I sneak into my business off and on throughout the week to get stuff done because I got to.
Well, I think you should.
I'm not going to watch, and I'm not going to, it took me 25 years to build this business. I'm not going to see it go down the drain because Gavin Newsom happened to have a notion that perhaps it might be a good idea to do this. And by the way, that's the other thing that really drives me crazy. If I hear another politician say, follow the science, and when they are not scientists, and I kind of am, and I know that this is not science, this is hunches. I once was fortunate to hear Stephen Hawking's lecture, and somebody asked him at the end of the lecture, what is it like to be the smartest man on the planet? And his answer was, the body of knowledge I don't know is infinitely larger than the body of knowledge I do know. All I know is that I know nothing. A good scientist knows the limitation of science, knows that we know some things, Newton's laws of physics are pretty well established, but most of the rest of science is hypotheses and theories, most of it unproven. And clearly, this entire Wuhan virus situation is entirely theory and conjecture. They were saying 2.2 million people were going to die. Then they dropped it down to 1.6 million. Then they dropped it down to 500,000. Then they dropped it down to 100,000. Now it's down around 60,000. These people don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, that's the point. As I said earlier, we don't have all the data yet, and the first data that they gave us and acted on was, this is no big deal. It's just another little flu that we don't have to worry about.
There's something I should add on
and
this.
then they went way too far in the other direction. They went overboard in one direction. They went overboard in the other direction. And quite frankly, that's fine for them to do if he has that opinion. But when you start sending out sheriffs and police people to stop people in their cars and invade their businesses and arrest them on the beaches, we've all seen the videos that have happened. The one I thought was most remarkable was there was a person, I think it was down in Southern California, he was on a paddleboard. They sent 2 police boats after a solitary person on a paddleboard to arrest him. How is that humanly possible? By the way, that's on the ocean, and I'm a sailor, so I know that there's a lot of things about maritime law where the state's powers begin and end. And I'm sure it's within the 3-mile limit, so maybe they had the rights to do that. But still, my God, I mean, if people are not outraged by this, I mean, I don't know what.
Well, I'm outraged by it. Are you outraged, Jeff Bosshard?
I'm outraged at the extreme cases, like the lone person sitting on the beach gets a citation for sitting on the beach.
Or the
I don't know what the governor's direct legal authority is. There is none that I know of.
Listen to Josh.
All right, you're going to have to do the thing so the caller can hear.
That it was okay to go swimming in the water, but you could not lay on the beach. So I guess you're supposed to get out of your car, sprint across the sand, hop in the water, and swim for 5 or 10 minutes, and then sprint across the sand back to your car and don't linger on your towel.
That is exactly right, and that's what the deputies told us.
Yes.
Wait, here. Hold on. I want Terry to hear this. Go ahead, Josh.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically this is also like my case where I was in my car by myself, and I also got subject to one of those tickets. Now, I have been following this subject. In fact, I was tuned in to a press conference with the sheriff's office on Friday. Now, basically, with the rundown on how this works is everything that the health officer dictates is what the sheriffs basically have to enforce. So your county sheriff's department and as well as your county's health officer are the 2 biggest hands in this matter. Those are the 2 parties that are providing the enforcement at this time. One provides the ruling. They both are in cahoots with each other, basically. They're both not, there's not an equal amount of power between the 2, basically. I'd say like the health officer dictates, the sheriffs enforce, basically. And that's the power dynamic we're working with. It's not so much the governor as much as it is our local enforcement really cracking the whip as much, because like we've talked about examples during today's show. For example, all the stuff that's going down in Orange County with the person down, or like the beaches down there and that whole situation. Like they have been able to demonstrate a defiance of what the governor's demonstrating. So basically what I'm trying to get at is the power grabbing is occurring at the local level, and that's what we need to focus on more so than what it's happening at the state. The state might be enabling it, but your local calls the shots.
Well, the state and the county all have administrative agencies.
Go ahead, Terry.
But that begs the legal issue. The health official is an unelected official.
Yep, I don't like that
either. Where do his or her powers derive from? How does she get the right to sit there and say, it's okay to sprint from your car to the water and then sprint back from the water to your car, but it's not okay to linger on the beach for 5 minutes afterwards while you dry yourself off on a towel? And where does she get the right to make that determination? What powers, what statute enacted by a legislature? Because last I checked, we are a country of laws, not men, and therefore just the whim of one individual unelected official does not have the force of law. That is, unless there must be some sort of an Emergency Powers Act which authorizes them to do it. If so, I want to know what that statute is, and I also want to know what are the limitations of that statute, because they cannot be a czar. They cannot be a potentate. And they're acting like it. That's the thing that I think galls me the most, is arbitrary, nonsensical, unreasonable rulings come down that don't have any logic or science behind them, and I doubt that they have any force of law behind them. And the mere fact that people acquiesce in it, I mean, that, Michael, as a Jewish person, you know that there, back in Germany, there were those people that said, hey, let's get down to the train early to get a good seat. The mere fact that people go along with this kind of crap doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, Terry. All right. Well, listen, thank you for calling in. And wow, what a topic you sparked with that great suggestion. So very good. So thank you, Terry, and talk to you soon. Let's see. Oh, wow. As soon as that went off, as soon as Terry dropped off, the line is in use again. We have like 8 minutes left. All right, what are we going to do here? I promised that the people were on hold would get a chance here. So let's go to Dawn and Salinas. Dawn, real quick, make it like half a minute. But it's better than nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, there's a question at the end of this. As a layman, these emergency safety measures have devolved into obvious behavior modification attempts by the state. And what's going on with these things is driving me crazy. Now, this raises questions that can only be settled in court. Now, if President Trump changed the drapes in the Oval Office, there is going to be an army of lawyers working pro bono, filing briefs and depositions and injunctions to stop him from doing it. But here, our rights are being trampled, and I hear crickets from the lawyers who took an oath to uphold the Constitution. They should be in Sacramento protesting. They should be filing briefs and injunctions in our favor. They should be defending the weak and the ignorant against the power of the state. And I don't hear squat from the lawyers. They sit there and say, well, maybe his son goes to do so. I don't know. Well, how about you go to court and find out, you know? How about you get off your duff and help us out? We're in trouble here.
Jeff wants to respond to your vicious attack.
No, it's a good
What is
attack.
vicious?
It's already been started in Illinois, for example, where a downstate legislator filed a case against the governor to overcome the stay-at-home order that they had extended out to May 30. A judge issued a temporary restraining order on that.
Well,
I'm
talking about the American people throughout, from sea to signing sea. This is happening to us, especially. It's happening to. You can go to the beach, but do it at a trot. You have to wear a mask or $1,000 fine. Unless you're a 12-year-old and under kid, you don't have to wear a mask. This is lunacy that we're being put under, and you guys have the education, you guys have the access to the courts, and you're not doing anything for us. Why? Do we have to pay you? Do you want to check?
Do you have an answer for that?
Well, law is two things. One, it's a business, and someone has to find out they can make a profit at something. But lawyers are ready, willing, and able to take a case to court if someone comes in and says, I'll be your plaintiff, or they could be the plaintiff themselves. The problem is, if the regulations are changing day to day, you're going to be about a week behind getting into court. If someone puts me into a confinement situation because I am known to have an infection, I could hire a lawyer, they could go to court, try to get me out, but I'm going to be stuck in there for a while. That's the problem. Law is slow,
Okay,
it's deliberative.
Don, thank you very much for calling here. We got to move on to Pamela in Soquel, has waited for more than an hour to say, among other things, that she wants to visit Mary.
Well, I started out just wanting to, well, first of all, I want to thank you at KSCO for giving us laughter. I mean, that is a complete necessity for today, so thank you.
You're right. Did you hear the joke special rerun that we did a week ago yesterday?
Oh, no.
Oh, it was from 1997. It had my dad and John Muth, both of whom moved to heaven shortly thereafter. But it was great. But we got so many complaints. People who were horrified. Even our own Jack Stein, he was horrified. They tell me, he didn't talk to me, but I heard through the grapevine that people ought to get a life now, and they really ought to chill out. You know? And it was just wall-to-wall hysterical laughter.
Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry
it's
I missed it. Thank you.
The best jokes. If you have our app, you can find it. Just play the last Saturday special. Not the last Saturday special. The last 2 to 4 slot on Friday, not yesterday, but the previous Friday. Anyhow, go ahead, Pamela, real quick.
Okay, well, thank you. And I first of all just wanted to God bless Amy and Estelle both. I mean, I can't even imagine what they have lived through in their lives, and what a blessing for God to bring them here. I mean, thank the Lord.
I'll sure drink to that.
And then I just wanted to say, Sweet Mary, I heard her, and I live in Soquel, and I would love to go visit her. I was a care provider for many years, and if she'll have me, I would love to go visit with her.
Please email me, mz@ksco.com, so I'll have your email, and then we'll put it together, okay?
Okay, now
Great.
to what again?
mz@ksco.com. That's my email address.
Okay.
Great.
All right, thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, to you too. Thank you.
Thank
Let's see,
you.
who's next? Charlie in Scotts Valley. Oh, no. Charlie in Scotts Valley. Go ahead, Charlie.
Thanks for having me, MZ.
Yeah, see if you can get on a regular phone instead of a echoey speakerphone, please.
How's that?
A little better, but go ahead.
Okay. My question is, what is the process to file a complaint with the Attorney General of Federal for civil rights violations? That's the only thing I'm interested in doing.
I'm sure Jeff can help us there.
Yes, visit your most local Attorney General's branch office. They could be San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And file your complaint. That's what they are there for. Is just as you would go to the district attorney here to file a criminal complaint, or they could take that at the sheriff's office level.
Yeah, because I haven't heard anybody indicate to me that how much time, what's the limitation on time they could be doing what they're doing. Because my understanding is Dr. Newell wants to extend this out to 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, they're going to do that as long as they can get away with it. But remember that politics is power, knowledge is power, and unfortunately, fear is power. We have to overcome all of our fears. Fear of the pandemic, fear of the economy collapsing.
I think a
fear
lot of people are just going to say, bleep you, Gail, and just go about their business. That's what I predict will happen. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm right on this one.
Another way is that people get a citation or get arrested, they can go to court and challenge it. But it takes a while.
Yeah. All right, we got to move on because there's, geez, who do we go to? Okay, let's go to, Art in Pruneburg. Billy Sun. Oh, come on. 10 seconds. That's all you have. And then we got.
Okay, listen. Okay, this whole process of restricting our activities is going against the principles this country was founded on. People are becoming weak. If you want to stay home and isolate yourself, stay home. Don't
Okay,
tell
good.
me to-
Dean Sutton, real quick. You have an answer. Real quick. 10 seconds.
Yeah. Yes, it's in the code, the California Code. Health and Safety Code 10,100 lays out the county health officer's authority, including the power to order quarantines. It needs to be, it's good for 14 days, and the County Board of Supervisors has to reaffirm it. And if that happens, it's to protect public health. And it's that California
And that can happen for good.
Health
Okay.
and Safety Code 10,100. Yeah.
Josh Stevens, that's great. Stay tuned for Perspectives. Tom Quinn comes back yet again. This is great. Thank you, Jeff Bossard. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this program here, and see you next week. KSCO, Santa Cruz, Salinas, Monterey, San Jose, 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 Jose,